Hi, everyone. This is Caroline again with you. Thriving Abroad Expat Interviews is what we do, where we go all over the beautiful globe and meet fabulous, amazing, talented people that are doing amazing things, but they're doing them away from their birth country. And we have the pleasure and the honor of talking with someone who you will be fascinated to hear her story. Cepee, thank you so much for joining us today. Um,
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
my pleasure. You are in beautiful España,
That is correct. Yep.
living your best life. And so just tell us a little briefly your journey, your expat journey, your transition. What was it like for you?
Yeah. So I'm originally from Texas. So in 2015, I moved from Austin, Texas to Spain. And it was sort of, I'm a little bit impulsive. So I would say it was a bit of a whim, bit of planning. I had lived in Spain previously in my 20s to teach English. I did a master's here, but I never lived here. So at 35 in 2015, I got the itch to move, and I planned for a year and my exit strategy, quit my job, sold my car, packed it up, and came to Spain, really on a new adventure. I didn't really have a plan when I was coming, which maybe I wouldn't suggest for everybody, but I know for me, I operate that way. So I came to Spain. I taught English for a year, and I told myself I had to find a way of teaching English. Nothing wrong with teaching English, but it just wasn't the path I wanted to take. And so I've been here 5 years since. I got out of teaching, found my way into social media, community building, found a way into remote work, and that's what I do now.
And wow, that's a great elevator speech. I like that. You said all that. So I want to say something. We're going to have such an amazing conversation because, lately we're in 2021. A lot of people are just thinking about their lives. I think the COVID, the pandemic really made a lot of people, and I'm going to say hit refresh, as far as their thinking, as far as, okay, what am I going to do? We've had so much time to think about our lives and our future. And many people, women are like, yeah, that's all nice and good. You quit your job. You were talking about travel, moving abroad, digital nomad. Well, I don't know how to do any. I mean, how do I quit my job? How do I be a nomad? How do I, what do I do? And I feel like this is a great conversation for us to have because so many women, especially, feel like, how am I going to do that? Like, it's easy for you to say, Cepee, but where do I begin? Like, how do we start that dialogue?
I love this question. I mean, it is this same question that my friends asked me, and my co-founder of She Hit Refresh, which is my community for women age 30 and over who want to change their life in a big way through travel and mainly moving abroad. When I moved to Spain, my friends were asking me, how did you do it? Where do I start? Weren't you scared? How am I going to quit a job? And so, I started a community to answer these questions. So I would say, actually just published a blog post today, the 12 things you need to think about or you need to do before you move abroad. And the first one really is to understand where you want to go. And I say that because while it may be lovely to live in France, if you can't get a visa for France, if you can't figure out a way to make that work, then you're not going to be able to move there. So I always tell people, start with, look at what your options are of where in the world you can move to. And what I mean by that is by visa options. Is there a visa option for you? Also, you need to figure out your finances. Can you afford to do it? I want to stress, moving abroad is not something that's just for wealthy people. Not at all. I'm not wealthy. I moved here and I have a whole community of people of all different kind of financial statuses that have moved abroad. But you do need to figure out how you're going to sustain yourself. Where's your income going to come from? It's not so easy to find a job abroad in many countries. So you need to figure out, yeah, how you're going to take care of yourself. And then just all the little logistics, like what are you going to do with your cell phone? Do you get a local number? Do you keep your number from, in your home country? What do you do with your mail? There's a long list of things you need to do, but I would say first start off with the visa and your finances.
That is great advice. And I guess it's nice that you brought that up because a lot of people we see on YouTube, the fabulous, and they're out in the yachts and they're sunbathing, in these beautiful places. And it does sometimes make people think, that I don't have that kind of cash to be, flashing and dashing from, country to country. So that's interesting. So I love your, what you've started, your community, and why specifically for women 30 and over?
Yes, another great question. And we have a lot of people under 30 who want to join and a lot of men who want to join, but we wanted to limit it. So I started this community with my friend Annette, who I mentioned. She is 4 years older than me. So when we started this, I had been living in Spain and she had just quit her job of 9 years to take a sabbatical. So, like I said, I'm impulsive. She's much more, she's a planner. So it took her like 4 years to execute on this dream. And so when we both are making our changes, in life, we just noticed there weren't a lot of resources out there for women our age. There were definitely resources for someone who's taken a gap year. So someone who's, in college, maybe in their early 20s. There were resources for women over 40 who wanted to do like solo travel, but that was more like 2 weeks in Thailand. But we really didn't find information for women of our demographic who wanted to make a big life change, and that is move abroad or travel the world for a few years. And so we just, like I had said earlier, we just had our friend groups that were asking us how we did it. And we thought, you know what, why don't we start a community for women like us and help them navigate this change in their lives. And so we actually, talked about, should it be 30? Should it be 35? Where should we put the number? And I thought 30 is kind of like an age where I think for women in many cultures around the world, it's kind of like when you approach 30, you think like, I need to have my life together. And you start thinking about a lot of things. And so we thought, yeah, let's start with 30, help women who maybe are looking for a change, but maybe feel they're too old. And I feel like that's crazy to say 30 is not even old, but yeah, we just wanted to create a safe space to help women who weren't finding resources for women who look like them.
I agree. I think that's a great age to, it is a pivotal age for most women, especially when we just start to, those that have children or those that are single, like, okay, now what do I do? Tell us a little bit. Okay, you're in Malaga,
Yes.
Spain.
Mhm.
What were the checklist for you when you were, getting ready to embark off to that beautiful country? What were some of the things that were like must-haves for you when you were looking?
Like when I was looking for where to go.
Yes.
Yeah. So I live in Malaga now, but I actually just moved here 3 months ago. So I have been actually been living in Madrid for 5 years. And for me, my checklist, I mean, I knew I wanted to live in Madrid because I had been there before, but what made Madrid that city that ticked off all the things on my list was that it was a big city. I'm a city girl. I'm from Houston. So I needed a city that has a lot of culture diversity, although Madrid isn't as diverse as some cities like in the US or like London or Berlin, but still it has a mix of people. There's a lot of options, a lot of things to do. I need warm weather, so it is a relatively warm city. The winters are a little brutal for this Texan, but no snow, so that's okay. Also, as a city that's well located, easy to get in and out of. For me, it's really important to have an airport that I love to travel so that I can get in and out. I don't have to spend a few hours trying to get to the closest airport. And also a city, for me, it was important to have a city that had an expat community, because it's just a great resource to have. And it actually ended up being kind of my greatest resource and really a community that really propelled me on a new path that I couldn't even see yet when I moved here. I ended up meeting a lot of expats who are entrepreneurs, and that helped me kind of foster that entrepreneurial mindset, which really led to starting She Hit Refresh. And I guess another big thing is a city that was affordable. Big cities around the world can be quite expensive. And I wanted something where I wasn't struggling. I wasn't worried about money, where I could really just kind of slow down. I was leaving the hustle and bustle of the US to slow down. So I wanted to live somewhere where I could slow down and still be able to afford the lifestyle that I wanted to have.
Are you finding that culturally, coming from the southern state, the Texas mentality, are you finding a big cultural difference in the way people live their lives in Spain?
I think so. I think on a broader context, probably just US in general. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you have to get used to, and you do have to definitely, there's things that are frustrating because they're different, but you do have to remind yourself you are a stranger in someone else's country. This is the way they do things. There's no right or wrong way. I think it's a great lesson to learn. There's just many different ways to live life and do things. So definitely, there are definitely a lot of differences. I would say. But, that's part of the fun of the adventure of discovering not only another country, but discovering yourself. How do you react in those situations? How do you navigate? How do you learn patience? And how do you grow as a person? So although there are some obstacles and challenges, they're really, just another beautiful part of the journey.
I like that you say that because we do tend to often highlight the positives and the beauty about living abroad, but we don't often always mention, yes, there's times when it sucks living abroad. There's times when you get into situations where you really, for a moment, wish that maybe you could go back home, or is this the right thing to do? But they're just momentary glitches, I think. And those of us that have been out for a while, learn how to just, overcome those just momentary difficulties. So you started this community, and how many women are part of your group now?
Yeah, so we started in November 2017. So we're about 3.5 years old, and we have now around 6,500 women worldwide. So it's brilliant to have these women all over the world and all different ages, all different backgrounds, wanting to make a big change in their life.
And is it mostly women? I mean, you said from all walks of life. So are you saying that it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what type of background you have, there is a place for you, basically? I mean, can I find a place no matter how low on the totem pole I may feel as far as my skills? I mean, finding work if I'm not really that versed in tech or what have you. I mean, is it possible?
Yeah, there are definitely options. I would say, you have to be open also. For me, I knew teaching English wasn't what I wanted to do, but really I didn't have another option for Spain at the time. I knew I wanted to live in Spain, so I came to teach English, but I had to be open to kind of that I would be starting a new journey. It may take a few years till I find my feet. And so I think if you're open, you can definitely find your place in the world. That doesn't mean that, things are going to lock into place overnight. You may have to have that 2, 3 year plan to figure out how you're going to set up a new life in a new country. I mean, you're doing something that's quite radical. So you shouldn't assume that, from one day to the next, things are going to be really smooth. Starting a life over in a new country, especially if you're going by yourself, it takes time. And I think you have to be gentle with yourself to give yourself that time to adapt and find your feet. So definitely, whatever your background is, you can find something for yourself out there.
Is it very social in Spain? Is it a very, if I'm married, if I'm single, if I'm looking for a husband, I mean, can I check off all of those boxes if we
Yeah.
pick Spain?
Yes, that's actually something I didn't mention. That was another big driver for me to move to Madrid is that in Madrid, I lived in Austin, Texas, which is quite a college town. And I always felt like I was the oldest person in the room when I went out to a bar or a cafe. And a lot of people, married with kids. But in Madrid, I just found when I went out, people in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60s out in bars, nightlife. Like it's a very social, lively country in general. And definitely in the big cities, people of all ages are living. And I think that's really beautiful to go out, I don't know, at 11 p.m. and seeing, the grandmothers out and just sitting around talking. Like it's really great to see all demographics really enjoying life. And also from a dating perspective, that just gave me, I guess, hope in the sense like there's going to be people my age who are also single out there. And Spain actually has a like the not their marriage rate. I don't even know what the word that is for, but there's marriages aren't super common like in other countries, and the birth rate is quite low. So if you are a single, that's to say, if you're a single woman without kids, you're going to find a lot of people who are like you out there, which is quite comforting if you're trying to find people who understand where you are in life.
So now that you're living your best life as an expat, what do you see for the future? Is Spain your home for now, for the foreseeable future? Do you see yourself as a nomad? What do we see in your future, in the crystal ball for your future?
Great question. In the crystal ball. Well, so I definitely like to have a home base. So I don't see a nomadic lifestyle in my future. So Spain is definitely for me. I've been here 5 years. I foresee it being my home. I'm in the process to get citizenship. So that will be brilliant. But also citizenship will allow opportunities to live in other countries in Europe. So we'll see. But also, I'm 40. I don't know if I want to start over. I have my community here. I love living here. No complaints. But ideally, I think I'll be here, maybe spend a few months out of the year in Texas and maybe traveling around the world.
So you've said goodbye to the good old USA.
Yeah, I never say never about anything, but
Sure,
I don't
absolutely.
have an urge to go back anytime soon.
Right. So just finally, some words of advice. If there's someone out there besides connecting with you in your community, um, just a few words of advice for someone who's sitting on the fence, who's really just at a crossroads thinking, how do I do this? What can you advise them?
Yes. Well, one, I would, definitely tell you, like, you should definitely execute on this dream. If you had this dream for a long time to move abroad, if not now, when? So don't sit on it too long, and you probably know that if you've been sitting on this dream, years have passed without taking action and more years are going to pass. So I would say you need to make a game plan, make that blueprint of how you're going to make it happen. Again, figure out where you can go, what visas are available to you. I just wrote a book called I'm Outta Here, an American's Ultimate Visa Guide to Living in Europe. So if Europe's where you want to go, definitely do that. Your finances, figure those out, and everything else will fall into place. If you own a home, you'll figure out what to do with it. If you have a car, you can sell that. All of that's replaceable. If you have a great job, you can always move back and get another great job. So I would just say don't overthink it, but do have a plan and then take action. You're going to be scared. I was scared. Everybody's a bit nervous with a big life change, but it's going to be the most exhilarating change of your life. So just take the leap and the net will appear.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that. Your social, how can we connect with you?
Yeah,
You,
so
you
you can.
mentioned your book. We're going to put the link for that below. On Instagram, you're a grammar.
Yeah, so on Instagram at She Hit Refresh, our website, shehitrefresh.com. You'll have the link to the book, and join our Facebook group at She Hit Refresh.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cepee, for sharing a little bit of your little paradise there in Spain. And hopefully this will be a really nice push for someone who is just feeling a little fearful. And I wish you lots of blessings and more beautiful years thriving abroad in beautiful Spain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caroline. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.